I was like, I'm going to figure this out. And then, so, being of a certain age, you need good lighting.
Yeah.
And I have like absolutely no makeup on right now, which I can't even believe. Like,
But you are in, like, your lighting is so favorable that, and then putting on the glasses just kind of gives you like I intentionally didn't put makeup on today
yeah.
because I am just so scholarly and inquisitive. I don't have time for such trivial things.
Let me
And
tell you, fake it till you make it.
yeah, that the theme of the being in my 40s. I feel like 40s is fake it till you make it. It's like, you know what? I spent a large portion of my life trying to act as if I have everything together when in actuality I didn't have anything together. And
Yeah.
something happened when 40 hit that was like, I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't care.
Yeah. Seriously. It's like, 40 is kind of like act like even if you don't, and there is such beauty that comes when you just don't care. You don't care. And especially like, sometimes I hate the fact that I follow my daughter on Instagram
Oh.
because I see, she's out here living her life. She's doing her thing. She's beautiful. She's
Yeah.
making like really good nurse money. She's living on her own. She has her own place in downtown LA. I was like, hey girl, if you want to spend that much money on rent, that's your prerogative. You make that money. Nobody can tell you what to do with your money but you.
Right. Go
I
right.
can't prevent you from making, whatever. Do you, girl. Be
Right.
beautiful. Have that $400 weave. Do your thing.
Do your thing.
And I was speaking with somebody else. They were talking about, oh, my grown child and blah, blah, blah. And then she doesn't, and she doesn't, she doesn't. I'm like, girl, why do you care? I'm like, does your child live with you? Well, no, she lives with her boyfriend. Do you provide money that takes care of her upkeep and her living situation? Well, no.
Mm.
Why do you care?
These are a lot of this is a lot of um unnecessary worry and unnecessary like mental strain and stress thinking about another adult person's life. Like
Yes.
you said, do they live with you? No. Are you financing their lifestyle? No. Are they in danger? Where you need to like intervene or whatever? No. Are they
Yeah.
healthy? Okay. I mean, it's like at that point you gotta, yeah. I mean, I look forward to that. Right now my son is still in college,
He's
so
in
I
college.
there's
Yeah.
still like a cushion of, okay, we got 2 more years, the college cushion, because the college cushion is real. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a cushion for both the student and the parent, because
Yeah.
the student's like, okay, I don't really have to like, depending on what their experience is, I don't really have to like work. I don't really have to worry. I can just kind of focus on my studies,
Yeah.
get relationships, and kind of just graduate. And the parents, for myself, I'm like, okay, well, I know at least 9 months out of the year, I don't have to worry about where he's at. I don't have to worry about if he's eating or not. I don't have to think about if he has a place to live. And then
Mm-hmm.
summer between myself and his dad, and then we send him right back to school.
Yeah.
It's like the best childcare ever.
Yeah.
So
It's the most expensive
the
one.
most expensive childcare on the planet Earth. And because his education plan, I don't see him going to grad school. If that's something
Yeah.
he decides to do,
Yeah.
he could explore that later. But I think for him and for his area of interest, I don't see that being his path. So we will get off this expensive childcare plan soon. Um, but yeah, when the time comes, so yeah, well, I'm so glad you're here. And I mean,
Thanks.
everything
Thanks
worked
for
out well.
having me.
Thank you for saying yes. I feel like you're one of those people. When I was reading over your responses to the questionnaire, something that you said about, one of those people who should take their own amazing advice. And as I was reading that, I was like, she does give really good advice.
Thank you.
Actually quite good at that. So before we like dive all the way into this, I just want to give you a chance to introduce yourself to the listeners and the viewers of this podcast that we're recording today, and also to let you know that you can take up as much or as little space as you'd like. I'm going to ask you some questions, and we're going to touch on a couple of things that you shared in your questionnaire, and then just kind of see where the conversation goes. It's meant to feel very relaxed and informal, and then at the very end I have something a little special to offer you, and yeah, that's where we'll take it from there.
All
So
right, cool.
yeah, so I'm going to let you take the mic and introduce yourself. Just tell us your name, where you're from, and what you stand for.
Okay, so my name is Lori Marie Shaw Taganod. I'm from many places, but predominantly Southern California. I used to be closer to LA. Now I'm in Orange County. And that's a whole other podcast in and of itself. What do I do? Up until I'm a chef. I'm a trained chef. I am an integrative nutrition health coach. I am, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a part of the LGBTQIA community. I'm a woman of a certain age of 46, soon to be 47. I've done a lot of things, and up until about a couple of weeks ago, my life has been centered around helping my family kind of run and maintain the family business. Because due to COVID, things just really, really shifted. So I say it in past tense. I'm actually leaving my job to work on my business full time. My last day will be the 8th of April at the former family business, but was there kind of the director of good vibes for the family's animal hospital, and everything kind of got shifted, and all of my time and energies were devoted to that because of COVID. My in-laws' last day at work was yesterday, and I got the blessing to kind of move on right along with them. So now I'm moving back into my yoga and coaching business. And my focus with food, breath, and movement is to inspire people to really take ownership and control over their health. We don't have to settle for the ailments, the aches and pains, and the illness and really sickness of what we see, our parents and our grandparents, go through. The majority of illness and dis-ease and the things that people die from, especially in the United States, it's all lifestyle. It's all preventable. A lot of it is reversible, and the things that aren't reversible, they're manageable. Right. Without a whole lot of medical intervention. Right. I'm about Western medicine, but I really wish Western medicine would kind of change their focus from, guessing at a diagnosis and prescribing pharmaceuticals to getting to the root of what the problem is. And a lot of times the majority of the times it starts with food. Mm-hmm. And then when you get the food part, if you dig a little deeper, a lot of our pain and disease, it's like the book, The Body Keeps the Score. A lot of it is emotional. Mm-hmm. And it's things, past traumas that have been stored in the body. So the food part, that's where the chef comes in. The breath and the movement, that's where the yoga instructor comes in. The food, breath, and the movement, those three things are, what I believe are the pillars to just good health, good health. And, you can start with one and let it move over into all three, or you can just dive into all three all at once. It doesn't have to be perfect as long as you're trying, So that's that's the basis of what I do and where my business is going. And did I cover it?
You did. No, you definitely did. You definitely did. So when you talk about, you know, getting back to this practice or this business of coaching and yoga, can you tell me a little more about how you found that path in the first place? Like what got you there? How'd you arrive there?
Oh my goodness. So I grew up like most Black people in the United States with a Christian background. And I've always been the different one in my family. I've always been the one that kind of like didn't really subscribe to, you know, the book of family nonsense. You know, because families, it's like it's a tribe mentality. And those that that go against what the tribe's mentality is, they usually get kicked out of the tribe. That's just to maintain, you know, that control, you know, what is that group think of the tribe of the family. And I never really you know, yeah, I never really subscribed to any of that. I always felt different and was kind of made fun of because of that. And which is fine because, you know, as an adult, you know, it's like I see it now, like it all makes sense now. And I'm glad that happened that way. And I'm glad that feeling of not fitting happened that way, because it's brought me to where I am today. And not being judgmental and being very open and seeing things from all sides. So I've always, instead of kind of subscribing to that, you know, go to church just because mentality and do this and that mentality, I always knew that there was a lot of just things that were just wrong and just not right with the way I was brought up and brought up to think. And I knew that I needed to heal from some things. And I always felt deep down inside that yoga, like that whole like world, was going to be the thing to help me. And it took me until like 40 to get up the nerve to go to a yoga class. Because one, my Christian background was like, oh no, that God ain't in that. That's idol worship. That's the devil, you know? So that prevented me. Then being Black, being a person in a larger body, and not being athletic and not being flexible, all those things prevented me from stepping into a yoga class. And thank God for Yogalution in Long Beach, because I went to their beginner class and gosh, what was his name? He's not there anymore. His name was Anthony. He was a teacher of the very first yoga class I ever went to. Sweetest, most soft-spoken guy. I walked up to him and I was like, I've never done this before. I'm terrified. And he was like, it's okay, you know, and there were 3 other people in the class, and thank God for him, Yogalution, in that class. And that set off my yoga journey. And after my first yoga class, I got to the car, I like gathered up my things and I ran out to the car, got in the car, and I ugly cried for like 5 minutes because it was like a release. It was like, I knew that I was right where I was supposed to be. It was just that release. And it was just not only a physical release, but there was an emotional release, because all of these things get stuck inside your body. Do you get chiropractic adjustments?
I haven't had many recently, just because, well, 2 reasons. One, because I was going to get them regularly when I started having like sciatica and these other back issues. And then after Western medicine, you know, intervened, and I had MRIs and discovered, oh, this is not an alignment issue that's causing this pain. This is actually a degenerative disc issue that's causing it. So the chiropractic adjustments weren't really giving me the relief. So I was like, why am I doing this? Let me do massage, acupuncture, or something like that. But
Well, I have a place for you. That's a whole other conversation
Okay.
when we're done. Anyways, so but just like with chiropractic adjustments, I got a chiropractic adjustment for the first time, and I got to the car and I cried because all of that stagnant energy is locked deep, deep, deep inside, and you just need to move things around. So that's how I got into to the yoga part. And then when I decided to become a yoga teacher, because I was like, there needs to be more Black fat people teaching yoga, period. And there needs to be more fat Black older yoga people teaching yoga, period. So I went and I got my certification, and the best feeling in the world is sitting at the front of the class and seeing women that are around, our age group, that are of color. You see them and they are right where you were when you walked into your first yoga class, terrified, like, oh my God, can I do this? And like walking in and wanting to leave. And then they see me sitting at the front of the class and they're like, oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
And, and I'm like, come in, have a seat. This is your first time. Do you have any questions? I'm like, okay, you don't have to be perfect. Just be you. And if you need to lay down, just lay down and breathe. It all is going to work the same. Just
being here. Yeah, just being here. I mean, my yoga journey started very similar to yours at Yogalution in Long Beach. Woo.
Yes.
I had just left a corporate job that was a very comfortable, well-paying job. It was also a highly stressful and ridiculous commute required, to maintain that job. And there was a sudden death in like an extended family member, passed away like immediately out of nowhere. And I remember getting that call while I was at work and looking to my manager saying, hey, I need to step out. Just 5 minutes. I just need to step off the floor. I need to step out. And they said no.
See.
And I was like, I'm going to step out anyway. I literally just walked out of the door and went to my car and had that moment. I had to, call and make the phone calls and everything and kind of gather myself. And as I sat in the car, I was like, I'm not going back inside. Because it was that moment of the fact that I was told no, I couldn't take 5 minutes to be able to collect myself and process this news that I got and that someone just passed away. The fact that I would have to bring myself back together to put on this face, to go back and interact with people and go back and do this job. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And so I texted a sister friend who I knew practiced yoga and, knew of this place that people talked about, seeing them doing yoga outside on Ocean, and was like, I think I want to come to a class. And she said, cool, come with me to class. Went to the class, and the person who led the class turned out to be the owner of the studio. And same, I left that class and was like walking back to my car saying to myself, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah.
Nobody told me this is what yoga was. I thought it was just balancing and poses and this and that. Nobody told me that it was going to feel so therapeutic and so visceral and so emotional. And then I went back the next day because it was a donation-based studio, and the teacher was like, give what you can. And I was like,
yeah,
$5 because I just left my job. So I just have to make this work. And I did that for about 3 months. And every class that she taught, she mentioned that there was going to be yoga teacher training and that people had spots available. And I had just left my job. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to do this training. And I went up and talked to her at the end of the class. And I said, I know you mentioned that you were doing scholarships. I'd like to apply. And she's like, I have one spot left. And
wow.
That's my spot. So I signed up. I got the scholarship. I worked all the, extra hours at the studio, and I did that and went through 12 weeks of training, and it was life-changing. And at the time when I started, I didn't go into the training with the intention of becoming a teacher. It was more because I wanted to know more about what this yoga shit was.
Yeah.
Wanted to know,
Seriously.
why come when I leave class, I want to cry? Like, tell me,
Yeah.
what is this really about? So
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. It's so funny because it's like when it's meant for you, when it's something that's meant for you to do, like finances, time, it's just not, it doesn't even become an issue. When I had wanted to do yoga teacher training like you, just to figure out more about the aspects of yoga other than throwing your foot behind your head. So I like, I maybe about 2 years into it, I was like, you know what, I want to take a teacher training, not necessarily to teach, but just to learn. And I was doing a Google search and I was like, ugh, like $3,000, $2,500, like, wow, it's super expensive. I found Orange Coast College has a yoga teacher training program. And the woman that is like the teacher, she's the only teacher of the teachers. She got her master's in yoga studies from Loyola Marymount. And that training program was her thesis. And wow. She got her master's in yoga yoga for the intention. Her intention was to bring a teacher training to the community college level to make it more affordable. So you're paying for, $40 per unit, $46 a unit. At the time, it was a 6-unit, 1-semester class. And was maybe in total, if you paid out of pocket, $700-800 with a $45 book. Wow. She even wrote the textbook.
Wow.
Like this was all a part of her thesis. And she brought all that knowledge and, her trips to India and the person that she learned from, what's his name? Larry Payne, he's run the whole Krishnamacharya lineage, but I mean, I don't subscribe to that whole yoga guru thing. I don't. These people are human. They just wrote shit down and got a following, and some of them, a handful of them, were abusive and, sex addicts and, whatever, but that's a whole other thing. But anyways, this program at Orange Coast College, she intentionally brought it to the community college level. Yeah. And at the time, I was like, okay, $46 a unit, I could do that. So I signed up and went to go pay for, everything. It cost me, my yoga teacher training cost me a $45 book and a $35 parking permit. That's it.
Wow.
State of California at the time, for older students entering back into college, you have to fill out a FAFSA, right?
Everybody got to do the FAFSA. Everybody got to do.
Yeah. After I filled out the FAFSA and they were like, okay, so we have the 46, whatever unit per unit, that's taken care of. Just all you got to pay for is your book and you got to pay for your parking permit. I was like, well, all right.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I think paying for the registration for Yoga Alliance costs more than
the class itself, the training itself. Yeah. Because you have to pay the fee to be part of Yoga Alliance every year, like to maintain your licensure or your, whatever connection to the organization. But wow, that's unheard of. I've never in my life heard of anyone who is currently a certified yoga teacher that has paid less than $1,000.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and even if I hadn't, for whatever reason, got this blessing from the state of California, it would have cost me less than like $700 to take that. teacher training. But with anything, even in my experiences in culinary school, you do not learn, like you don't truly learn it until you're out there doing it. You
Right.
learn the very basics of anything, whether it be cosmetology, cutting hair, whether it be doing makeup, whether it be cooking, yoga, whatever. You do not truly learn things. It does not become a part of you until you are actually out there doing it.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. For anybody that is thinking about becoming a yoga instructor,
Mhm.
it's like, don't get too hung up on where you go and who you're learning from. I mean, by all means, be selective on who is mentoring you,
Right.
but don't get caught up on, you know, this facility over that facility. Don't get caught up on, names. Are the people teaching, are they good people?
Right.
Are they, people that are just really appropriating in a bad way?
Well, yeah,
What
I say that because I know that when I got to the end of my YTT and started to really dig into the Yoga Alliance as an organization and started to explore like, okay, so I'm the kind of person who's like, I want to know the beat, like the original source of this, like whose idea with this was this, and kind of follow the money kind of vibe. So as I started to dig in, I'm like, oh, this is just a business. This is just
mm-hmm,
a collective of yoga scholars, we'll call them that, or and a collective of business owners and financiers and marketing gurus and
mm-hmm,
and all these people just built a collective and said, hey, there's a way for us to make ourselves the governing body in the United States in particular that can say whether or not people teaching this practice in the United States are licensed, are skilled, are insured, are otherwise qualified to charge money for this particular service.
mm-hmm.
And we're going to create this governing body that says that they can do that. And then the way that we continue to generate revenue as this governing body is by charging yoga teachers to be certified under our organization, to charge yoga studios to become certified yoga schools, to offer unique certifications in prenatal or
Mm-hmm.
what do you call it, like able-bodied, to be able to facilitate yoga for differently abled bodies
Mm-hmm.
and this and that. And so when I started to peel back the layers, I was like, wait a minute, because I was really thinking about, after my first year of teaching, after I'd gotten certified, I was thinking about going and getting another certification because I
Mm-hmm.
have a 350-hour cert. I was going to go and do the 500 hours, and I was going to go do the 1,000 hours. And I had this whole business plan. And then when I started to look at it from that perspective, I was thinking, well, I don't want to spend any more money to get any more
Right.
certs. I would rather just teach as often as I can, travel and teach in different places and different environments,
Mm-hmm.
get to know different styles of teaching, learn from some of the best, and particularly to be able to learn from other Black women who were teaching in this industry. And
Mm-hmm.
so social media played a big part in that because I was able to find people through social media, through Instagram, follow them, interact with them. And then when I had a chance to go across the country and spend time on the East Coast, I was actually able to go and like sit with these women and like tell me what the real deal is, sis. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how are you ending up on the cover of these magazines? How are you leveraging these contracts with these, athleisure brands? How are you doing this? And a big thing that they told me was because at the time they were the only one. There was no,
Right.
it was kind of like they were getting in on the diversity platform.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting in on the inclusivity platform, but it wasn't. And this is no shade to their progress, because obviously they've been doing the damn thing. Chelsea and Koya and Faith, and
Mm-hmm.
they're doing the damn thing. And at the time, I was looking at it like, okay, if I'm going to continue to invest money in this particular industry or this profession, I have to have a plan as to how I'm going to recover that. because otherwise
Mm-hmm.
I'll just teach when I teach. I'll make it accessible. I'll make it free. I'm not really in it for the money. And that's the direction I ended up going with
Mm-hmm.
yoga, because I discovered that I had more interest in really teaching other yoga teachers or other healers or other practitioners who want to be able to make a profit, how to
Mm-hmm.
do that. Because
Yeah.
that was the one thing that I feel like was kind of, it was grazed over. We kind of touched on it in the last
Mm-hmm.
of YTT. Like, if you want to make this into a business, you can, but there wasn't
Yeah.
a lot of like practicum that was worked into that. And so when I took a step back from teaching altogether and really sat down and was like, what do I really want to do? And what are the things about yoga that really fuel me? And it really had nothing to do with the mat. It was
Mm-hmm.
all the other, 8 limbs, all the other limbs, the other practices, the mental practices, the spiritual practices, you know, the abstainings and all those things. That's the stuff that really spoke to me. And I haven't taught a yoga class in almost two what, including, 2020, almost
Mm-hmm.
2 years.
Yeah.
Haven't taught a class.
Yeah. I haven't taught a class since, I'm like, can I even still teach a class? Now, I haven't taught a class since maybe, I think, October of last year. I felt like all this pressure. I was teaching consistently. And then I'm also employed with UC Irvine as a teacher there. And I love the fact that every class that I was able to teach, for whatever reason, it was all women around my age, a little younger and a little older, around my age, that ended up in my classes. So I taught mostly, faculty and staff,
Mm-hmm.
not really the students, which fine by me. You have to be able to relate to your teacher. But when COVID happened, my classes at the Pilates studio stopped. My classes at UC Irvine stopped. And then I felt all this pressure to go online, do these online classes. But like for me, I'm a very sensitive individual. Like I cannot watch the news. There's certain things I can't watch on TV. I'm married to a Filipino person. So like all of this stuff with, things that are going on with, hate crimes against Asian people, the shit that goes on with Black people, that happens to us. Like everything that was going on at this time of the year last year.
Last year. Mm-hmm.
It was like, I couldn't. And even at the end of the year, right after the election, I'm just a very sensitive individual. So for me I needed to process. A lot of the stuff that was going on in the world, because that stuff, it physically affects me.
Right.
And that's a lot of what is in the vein that, I'm trying to help people with is, how to regulate your nervous system so that you can manage your stress. Because a lot of people, when things, we all have been living with just taxed out nervous systems, period, the last 12 plus months.
Easily.
And all of the stuff that we were going through before COVID happened, it didn't go anywhere. It was still there. All of our issues we were having with our families, our work, everything else. Then COVID happened, and then all this change happened. And then, things are starting to look better, but then you kind of in this place where we all have to like grieve the lives that we had prior to March 2020. Like things will never be the same.
Right.
And so for me to try and hop online and teach classes consistently, you are giving a lot of yourself when you teach a yoga class.
Absolutely.
You are giving so much of yourself. Not only are you giving of yourself, you are taking in and holding on to things that the people in the room.
Well, because you become a receptacle in a
Yes.
sense, where you're taking in, you're receiving everything that everyone else is releasing. You're holding the space for the class as a whole to make sure that everyone feels safe, everyone feels comfortable, everyone feels seen and included.
Yes.
And then you're also pouring out into the space. So it's an emotionally laboring experience. And
Yeah,
doing
totally.
that for other people in 2020, I was like, I tried.
Me too.
I tried at the beginning of COVID. I was like, oh man, I gotta be of service. I gotta show up for my people. I know I need this. I know we need this. And I was teaching virtually for a gym for a couple of times a week. And then I was doing virtual things on Instagram a couple of times a week. And I was like, this is a lot, because I felt myself shifting out of showing up transparent, vulnerable, authentic, showing up like, okay, guys, we're going to do this yoga. And it's like, I don't want to do that bullshit, because that's not really how I want to show up, for one. And then two, I don't want to show up trying to pour from an empty cup. I don't want to squeeze out the last bit of my energy to be able to show up for other people. I have to really be self-full and and internalize the energy that I need, instead of feeling like I have to give it out. And so that when, like you said, when COVID happened, it's not like it erased everything that happened before that. It wasn't like all the traumas, all the challenges, all the stressors just disappeared and was like, okay, here's COVID. Now everything else disappeared. Now, if they did that, if they were like, hey, all the credit has been wiped out, all your loans have been, then that's what I decided to do. I mean, fine, we'll take a little virus, and that's what we got. But that's not what happened. So now it's interesting, because I was thinking about this. I was talking to a friend earlier, even just recently, feeling there's just another shift, that's happening, because we're at the, the annual point of, like, this time last year, we were in the second week of quarantine. This time last year, everybody was having to readjust and reevaluate. People were experiencing loss. People were experiencing death. People were experiencing financial strain. All these things were happening, and it was happening at the same time for everyone.
Yeah. And then not to mention that the fear.
Exactly.
The fear and just the uncertainty. And it was just crazy. Yeah. It was crazy. I don't think. And then also it was like, God, when you like really sit down and think about it, this wasn't just happening to a community. It wasn't just happening to a city, a state, a country. This was global. This was like the entire planet was like going through it at the same time. And at the beginning of this, I was like, okay, so there's some things that we all need to learn in this process. I'm like, the longer it takes for us to learn them, the longer it's going to take for us to get out of it. Right. And nobody freaking learned. Nobody listened. No, and it was about the huge lesson that I see just on the surface. The huge lesson was you got to give a shit about somebody else.
That's right.
It's not at all about you and yours. You have to care about other people. And the majority, the masses did not get it.
No.
Still are not getting it. And it's just like the whole, like, changing of the guard as far as like government, like people like kind of waking up and all of the responsibility that comes, because, awareness, once you gain awareness about something, you can't ever lose that. No. And it's like, if you ignore it, shame on you. So a lot of people were waking up, becoming aware, gaining this awareness about a lot of things, not just about things in the world, but things about themselves, and it was just like this weird, like, awakening. I don't know. I just feel like the masses didn't get it. The masses,
like they didn't. I feel like they didn't want to get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like when you go to a restaurant and they're like, oh, do you want dessert? Here's the dessert menu. And you're like, oh, I'm good. You see what's on there, but you're like, no, I'm good. I don't want that. That's not for me. I'm going to pass. I feel like that's what happened. I feel like the, veil was lifted, or the curtain came down, or whatever you want to call it, and things
Mm-hmm.
were exposed. A lot of things were exposed, I would say, during
Mm-hmm.
2020, because people were in front of their screens. They were being confronted with things that they might not have wanted to look at. And then also
Mm-hmm.
because of what was happening during quarantine, parents were at home with their children, spouses
Right.
were in the house together, people who were single were alone,
Mm-hmm.
alone. So I think that there was a lot of things that took place that required people to kind of, like you said, wake up. And
Yeah.
then some people just chose to snooze, go
Yeah.
back to sleep, because I think that when you have those moments of awakening or enlightenment or evolution, you can't unknow it. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
practice it, but you can't
Right.
know it. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
up to the individual as to whether or not they're like, okay, I know this now, and I'm either going to hold myself accountable for this new knowledge that I have, and I'm going to practice and I'm going to live differently,
Uh-huh.
or I'm just going to like hope that nobody notices that I'm kind of just doing the same shitty things I was doing before. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Right.
yeah.
Right. And then like on the brighter side,
On the yeah.
there was so much art
Yes.
that happened, so many like new businesses were birthed out of necessity.
Mhm.
So many ideas were birthed, that those are the ones that got it. Those are the ones that got it.
Right.
And I had always said when I was in yoga teacher training, because this is how thorough my yoga teacher training was. Shout out to Ashley McKeechee. We did a lot of like visualization exercises, like bhavana, and we had to do a 5-year one,
Mhm.
5 years after we finished yoga teacher training. And mind you, this was in 2018 or 19. I don't remember. Way before COVID.
Right. Right.
In mine, I said that, I was writing about a wellness studio that not only did the wellness, it wasn't just yoga.
Mhm.
There was there were yoga classes, and part of the yoga classes was every yoga class was also being streamed. So for that wellness studio, there were members all over the world
Mhm.
that were tuning in. So if there was a class at 7 p.m., in LA, or let's say noon in LA,
Mhm.
somebody at 3 o'clock on the East Coast was taking that class at the same time as everybody in that room with the community. They were taking that class at home
Mhm.
via live stream.
Right.
Girl.
And the thing too, when you think about it, it's like I remember being in yoga teacher training, finishing up and saying, you know what? I don't want to be I don't want to be attached to a studio, because again, I'm
Mm-hmm.
coming off of like I'm leaving this corporate job. I don't want to be managed. I don't want to be supervised, I want to do my own thing. And now that I have this knowledge, I have this wisdom, I need to go out and practice it.
Mm-hmm.
Part of what we had to do was 40 hours of teaching in order to
Mm-hmm.
get our cert or whatever. So once I was done, the first thing I got to do was go teach on a cruise ship. The next thing I got to do was go teach in New York. The next thing I got to do was to go to Atlanta. So I started
Mm-hmm.
seeing like, oh, I can actually just travel with this thing and build community in different places,
Yeah.
and be able to have that freedom, that nomadic, movement that I really wanted. And to know
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, this kind of vibe, this positive vibe, this, breath work, this, peace work that people want, everybody can benefit from this. I want to
Mm-hmm.
go other places. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think what also happened, like you said, during COVID was people recognizing that there's a need for community. We as
Mm-hmm.
human beings, we're pack animals. We
Yep.
thrive in community. And so when community is compromised, or we're separated or isolated, this is what we crave. And so
Right.
before COVID, in the summer of 2018, is when I put together this, is my efforts of like, I'm going to do a master class. And I did this master class experience called Rooted. And it was deep diving into all the 8 limbs of yoga and brought together these Black yoga teachers. And it was a really cool experience. And I know that life happened and it was like a one-time thing. But every time I talked to one of the teachers who was a part of that, they're like, when are we going to do that again? When are we going to do that again?
Yeah.
Now, because of this, we can reach so many more people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can go so much bigger with it than just people who are in LA who can drive to the studio off Arlington or whatever. It's like now
right.
we can go so many places with it, So I agree. I mean, I think that this technology has been available for so long. However, now I think as a culture, as a society, we've embraced it as a norm. It's no longer like a thing that some people do. It's like the thing that everyone must do if you want to
Oh
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to if you are a yoga instructor and you want to teach classes, you have to be open to this technology.
Right.
And I was like looking like with the classes that I taught back in September, October, and part of November of last year, I was like, I'm going to start teaching again, doing a couple classes online. But there, I'm not a power yoga teacher, no, because after you hit 40, 45, you have to approach physical activity totally different. Yeah, not a power yoga teacher at all.
Not I, neither.
No, my style of yoga and classes that I teach are about downgrading and regulating your nervous system, period. So you can sleep better and so that you can actually rest. Because that's when all of the healing takes place in your body, is when you're resting, like truly at rest, and your nervous system is calm. Yeah. Anyways, that is my style of teaching yoga. So I was looking at some of the past videos of classes that I did before, and I just had like this huge problem with Zoom, man, because like the video quality, the sound quality, it's just a little bit, it's not all there. And then especially for yoga, people really aren't paying attention that much visually. They have to be able to hear you really, really well. And I noticed, and I'm really sensitive to sound too. And I noticed with Zoom, sometimes like the sound quality can be like very like tin canny or glitchy, just weird. And so I'm like, not everybody is strange like me in that. Like I can hear a bird flying around over. Yeah. And I'm just like, ew. I'm like, do you hear that? It's a wild parrot, which we do have over here in Fullerton, by the way. So I'm like, okay, how can I make this better? How can I make this a little bit more visually pleasing and more pleasing for the ears? So, I've invested a little bit in, like microphones and like lavalier mics and things to use for classes, because also in my classes, it is movement, but at the beginning, the middle, and at the end of my classes is breath work.
Right.
So, you at the end of my classes, you feel very like they're very expansive, so you're like, you're expanding in your lungs, visualizing expansion in your joints, in your heart center, and just breathing into all of those spaces to open things up. Because I feel that is what the body needs. Once you reach a certain age, once we've reached a certain age, we've experienced certain things in life. Those things need to be worked out physically. Some of the things that we experience as we get older in life, it's like aches and pains. And then, not only that, but, we hit our 40s and we have experienced the loss of grandparents. which, you know, I know you and I both have lost our grandmothers, which I know we both were very close to our grandmothers. So people, you know, people in our circles are experiencing, like, I have friends that are around my age that have had cancer. You know, now, you know, in my 40s, I have to get a mammogram. So that's on my list of things that I have to consider myself with.
Exactly. That's real.
You know?
It's like I think when you, particularly for women also, you know, when you reach the 40 plus club, you know, get your permanent, you know, wristband and your VIP.
Yes, and we are all still fine, by the way.
When you get into the 40 plus club, there's certain things that you leave at the door. And there's certain things that you receive once you cross the threshold. Like, here you go. Here's a little bit of joint pain, and here's a little discomfort. Here's and we'll sprinkle some insomnia in there. Let's go ahead. And it's like, I didn't ask for any of these things. Nobody told me this was what it was going to be like. But then you also get this, like you said, this discernment. You know, you get a sense of awareness and this sense of really embracing your yes and embracing your no. You know, it told me a long time. It's like, it's either a hell yes or a hell no. And there's so much freedom that comes with that, because what you're leaving behind is this need for constant validation, or this need for constant acceptance. And instead, you're carving out this other space that says, this is who I am. And I am still capable of evolving. I'm still capable of transforming. I'm still capable of doing more. And I'm also going to say no to that. I don't want to do it and I don't like it. And if it's not going to really add value to my life, I'm not willing to create space for it. No, thank you. You know? So yeah. Well, we're going to switch gears because I don't want to
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, because I know I could talk to you for like 73 hours. And I know that I guarantee there's other things that, that you get to do today. So when we switch gears, I like to do this little experience, I should say, called Complete the Sentence. And it's actually, there's 3 little things we'll do together before we sign off. So the first one is called Complete the Sentence. And what I'm going to do is give you a couple of sentence prompts, and you complete them however you'd like, taking up as much or as little space with each one. The first one is, I am happiest when.
Let's see. I am happiest when I'm on vacation. Let's just keep it real. I'm happiest when I'm on vacation.
Yes. Vacation. Remember that? Remember that thing where you used to get on a plane and go places?
Oh yeah. Or you get stamps in your passport.
Yeah.
I miss that. Yeah.
I miss that also. Soon, and very soon, hopefully. The next one is, I know I'm fed up when.
I know I'm fed up when I know I'm fed up when I just don't say anything. When I just like, I'm good. I don't even want to argue. Let's just move on. You know, like, I'm going to go.
I'm going to go. Check, please.
Yeah. I'm fed up when I just like, I have nothing. Whitney Houston, I have nothing to say, no opinion. And that tends to scare people. When I have nothing to say, people are like, oh,
damn.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed. How about, I know I've made an impact when.
Ooh, I know I've made an impact when I see a change. I know I've made an impact. For instance, I know, because that's pretty vague. For instance, when I see a change, sometimes if like dealing with the staff at work, sometimes you can offer advice or, give performance improvements or, well, for me, you can give advice to someone.
Mhm.
And sometimes, I can feel when somebody's receiving it, like when they're really receiving it.
Mhm.
And other times it's like, it's just like, okay, or they're just kind of like, oh, yeah, 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 just to kind of placate you
Mhm.
in the moment. But I know I've made an impact when I've either given some advice or I've been an example and I see a change in people's behavior or I see them following suit. And especially if I haven't even said anything about anything, and I've just been an example to someone, I know I have made an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And that feels so good.
Mhm.
Feels so good.
Yeah. That's a good feeling when you, like
Yeah.
you said, when you don't even have to vocalize anything or give it as a directive. It's just me living by example is
Mm-hmm.
change and impact on
Yes.
people. I love that. I love that. So next what we're going to do is we're going to get into a time machine. So you're going to take a moment and close your eyes if you'd like.
Okay.
And we're going to go in this time machine and we're going to go back in time to when you were 16.
Oh.
Step out of your time machine and you see your 16-year-old self standing in
Mm-hmm.
front of you. What is the first thing that you say to her?
Oh, the first thing I say to say to her is don't listen to them. Don't listen to them because they're trying to hold you back. They're only giving you advice based on their own fear. And anything that you have in your heart and in your mind that you set out to do it. How you feel deep down inside, how you want your life to look 20, 30 years from now, do what you need to do. Do not listen to them. Boom. That's what I would say.
I love it. I love that. I love that. So we're going to step back into our time machine.
Okay.
And we're going to go all the way forward. We don't know how far forward, but we're going to go all the way to the end. And you're going to see the end. What do you want to be remembered for?
Mm. I want to be remembered for helping people become the best versions of themselves all the way to the end of their lives, and to help people change mindsets about how their later years are supposed to be. I want to be remembered for helping the 50 something year old woman break free of old mindsets and be a better 60-year-old woman than she was in her 40s. I just want to be remembered for helping people just live their best life,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. So take a deep breath in and a long breath out, and gently begin to blink your eyes open when you're ready. All right. Well, before I release you into the rest of your day, there's one last thing I like to offer, and that is a little mini oracle pull. So I have this oracle deck called the Oracle of E, which I really love, and it's exactly a 52 card deck.
Mm-hmm.
And hold on one second, just do one thing really fast. I had an alarm trying to go off. Okay. Nope. Okay. All right. Okay, so it's exactly a 52 card deck, and I just want you to pick a number between 1 and 52.
Okay, let's do 13 came to mind.
13. Okay, cool. And I'm also going to pull the number for today's date, which is the 30th. And it's the 30th already. Dang. Okay. Well, there we are. So I guess that happened. I guess we managed to.
Oh, it's the 31st. It's the 31st,
right?
actually.
That's
Yes.
cute. See, I was trying to hold on to the day. It's the 31st. Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
So this is a super fun deck. It's super cute. So, and each of the cards has a little message. So the first one for number 13 that you selected, the card says entangled.
Oh.
It reminds me of, I think we think of Jada and Will.
Yes. Yes.
Entangled. I don't.
I'm like, who said?
Who said I'm entangled? So the message from the book says, you would probably call what's about to happen synchronicity, or maybe even coincidence. Au contraire, the big truth is you are already connected to everything and everyone. Quantum physics has its own name for it, which is entanglement. The reason it appears that all the ducks are lining up on your behalf right now is because you're finally paying attention. Let the games begin.
Okay.
Okay. And then 31 is the superhero card. And the message is right now you've got superhuman strength. The truth is you always have. But most of the time, you don't need it. Why bother? Everything's rocking along just fine. You are about to learn how cool, how strong, and how amazing you truly are.
Okay, I received that. Yes, I received that, all of it.
Yes, yes. Well, this has been a delight. I always enjoy talking to you, and I love how our conversation just flows so naturally. I just want to thank you again for saying yes to being a part of this. You know, this podcast started 2 years ago at not even two, shoot, damn near 3 years ago, at a time in my life where things were a lot different than they are right now. And you are a person who can attest to where that was. But it's been a journey to get here, and I'm just grateful for everything that, you know, I've learned, and for our talks, you know, sitting at that restaurant in at the 900 Ocean building, looking out at the
Oh my gosh. Yes. I remember that.
You know, and just like you have always just been a person who's just been so positive and also so honest and transparent with all of your wisdom and advice that you offer.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate you for just being so open, and just keep doing what you're doing. I look forward to also seeing what's coming, you know, for you and what's coming from you, and always here to support in any way that I can.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm just happy that we're finally moved and I have my little space here. I always wanted a space where I could sit and read and write and create and just close the door. And I even got so lucky, I even have my own bathroom.
Oh, yes. Yes, I love it.
You know, so it has its own bathroom. So, you know, dreams come true, y'all.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Dreams come true. But in all seriousness, thank you so much for having me. I did a bunch of things like in faith, like buying a podcast microphone just to have it so that I could see it every day, because having a podcast is something that I've wanted to do, you know, but seeing you take it on and do it and have some success with it, that's inspiring to me, especially like the last 3-4 years of your life is just an inspiration. And I can't wait for you to write the book on that.
Oh, it's coming.
Just saying. And put that in your purse. Yes, ma'am. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, as soon as like I said, April 8th, I am just, you know, I'm on my back on my journey. So I'll have some offerings coming up pretty soon.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Lori. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I'll talk to you soon.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.